Hello, everyone. Before we dive in, be sure to drop your thoughts, feelings, and lessons in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Let's get into it. We started out like a movie that chose the warmest lighting. My wife, Janelle, left encouraging notes in my lunch, and I wrote little poems on sticky notes for her mirror. We had a 5-year plan. Save for a condo in downtown Chicago, backpack the national parks one summer, then try for a baby the next. We promised Friday date nights no matter what. We cooked together, danced over spilled oats, and kept a jar of ticket stubs from every adventure. When our offers letter for the condo got accepted, I said, "Let's celebrate big," and she grinned. "Bigger than streaming a documentary?" We chose a club because it felt like a victory lap. My name is Marcus, and I am the kind of man who double knots his dress shoes and still manages to step on the dance floor like a dad at a barbecue. Janelle was a star, sequins that caught light, eyes that caught hearts. We joked we would toast to hardwood floors and quiet neighbors, then toast again to kitchen storage. Tonight, I said, we dance like we can afford maintenance fees. Janelle laughed, kissed my cheek, and said she planned to outdance the disco ball. The club pulsed with a heartbeat someone amplified and set to neon. A velvet rope separated us from a canyon of bass and glitter fog. The doorman wore a suit with enough structure to hold up a small bridge. Inside, waiters moved like synchronized swimmers, balancing citrus constellations on bottle sparkler trays. Janelle's smile reflected in mirrored walls. 8 Janelle smiles at once. We found a corner couch that bounced like a trampoline and ordered champagne we pretended to pronounce casually. I promised to dance without counting. She promised not to laugh at my counting. We clinked to new beginnings. We danced, and for a while, we were absolutely ridiculous together. I shook my shoulders like they were negotiating a truce. Janelle turned and swayed with that graceful precision of someone who learned to do complicated things with joy. We whispered future baby names between tracks. "What if we call them Avery?" she said, "no matter the gender." I said, "Then we must also name our toaster Avery." We laughed, breathless, our plans floating around us like confetti. I thought, this is the safest place in the world. Her hand in mine, our rented rhythm, and the music's friendly thunder. Then the DJ announced a surprise guest, stretching the word Serpenthyris, until 3 songs later. The lights cut, the crowd gasped, and there he was, Khalil Stone, chart-topping, velvet-voiced, jawline you could skateboard down. Women screamed like the fire code was passion. Men clapped like they had discovered gravity. I am not a jealous man, but I am a mortal one, and mortal men know the universal truth. Celebrities are human, yes, but somehow not on Friday nights. Janelle squeezed my arm so hard, I almost confessed the things I had not done. Khalil sang 2 songs so smooth the room turned into a melted candle. Then he drifted along the VIP banquettes, trailed by cologne and camera flashes, greeting hands like he was running for president of romance. He looked our way. No, he looked at Janelle. Her eyes did that widened sparkle I once believed was reserved for our condo's floor plan. A handler appeared with clipboard, whispered, nodded, and suddenly a velvet rope parted as if by polite magic. "Come say hello." The handler smiled at Janelle. My stomach performed interpretive dance. "We should go together," I said, trying to keep my voice casual, like I often mingle with famous people on purpose. Janelle hesitated, lip gloss glinting like a signal, then said, "It's just a hello, Marcus. Be right back." She threaded through the crowd, swan elegant, leaving me clutching 2 drinks and the air. I watched the handler usher her to Khalil, who stepped forward with a hug that looked rehearsed by angels. Cameras popped. The bass resumed. A couple near me debated whether bottle service fruit should be considered a salad. I sipped something expensive and tasted worry. Minutes turned viscous. 10, 15. I tried dancing alone, which is exactly as dignified as it sounds. I asked the waiter if he had seen my wife. "Many people have wives here," he said kindly, which felt like both encouragement and a warning label. When I finally spotted Janelle again, she stood laughing, hand on Khalil's arm, inscribed within the kind of attention that drapes itself like mink. Their mouths moved close, lines drawn in private ink. I waved. She saw me, then looked away as if waves were a rumor. It felt like the room forgot to include me. Determined not to be the man who glares at Sparkle, I approached. The handler stepped in, a human velvet rope with perfect posture. "Just a minute," he said, like I had asked to borrow a yacht. "I'm her husband," I replied. He glanced at Janelle. She swallowed, eyes flicking between my face and Khalil's entourage. It took a half-second too long for her to nod. "It's okay," she told the handler. He stepped aside with the slow elegance of a hinge. I managed a smile. "Hey, babe," I said gently. "You were gone. Just checking in." Janelle touched my elbow like she was pressing pause. "Marcus, this is complicated," she whispered, which is a word not normally used to introduce one's spouse to a singer. Khalil extended a hand, perfectly moisturized. "Brother," he said, smooth as a late-night jazz station. I shook it and felt 100 million streams. I'm starstruck, I admit it, because honesty is my nervous habit. We were celebrating a new condo. I added. Khalil nodded. "Congratulations." Love the commitment. The word commitment hung there like a chandelier, deciding whether to fall. "We're going to an after spot," the handler said. "Just a few folks." He gestured like an auctioneer selling moonlight. Janelle inhaled. I said, "Perfect. We can grab our coats." There was the briefest, smallest pause, a hairline cracking glass. "Marcus," Janelle murmured, "maybe this is not your scene tonight." The handler studied me like I was a complex tax form. Khalil looked apologetic, or he looked like a man trying on the correct expression. "No worries," he said. "We keep it intimate." I laughed, an unhelpful sound. "We were intimate at our wedding," I announced, unasked. A tiny storm gathered. Janelle shifted. "I'll be home soon," she whispered. "This is just networking. For my marketing career." "Marketing what?" I asked, louder than I intended. "Your spreadsheet proficiency?" The handler leaned in. "Sir," he said, a word that could be either polite or ceremonial. "Please." My chest thumped a Morse code. Don't make a scene, but also, this is a scene. She's my wife. I repeated. Janelle looked at the floor, then at the ceiling, but not at me. "We will talk later," she said, as if later were a country I could reach by bus. I decided to exit gracefully, which is hard when you feel like a balloon someone let go of. I got our coats and waited at the door like a lighthouse. When the group came through, the handler, the entourage, Khalil in a jacket that probably had its own insurance, Janelle trailed at his side. I waved again, hopeful, husband warm. The bouncer misread my wave as an attempt to re-enter the VIP flow and gently pushed me aside, using hands the size of small countries. "She's with us." The handler called over his shoulder. Janelle looked back, a flicker, then away. "Hey!" I called, and Janelle turned, as did several strangers craving a subplot. "Text me when you get home." Khalil's driver opened a door that whispered money. Janelle hesitated, then slid into the car like a sentence turning into a secret. The door shut soft as a betrayal wearing velvet. I stood holding two coats and my heartbeat, which had opinions. The valet asked if I needed my vehicle. "Eventually," I said, a word that, in that moment, meant please let time reconsider itself. I watched the taillights fade until the street reflected only me. At home, I sat at the kitchen island, an altar to our grocery list. I wrote a text, "Are you safe?" Then another, "I love you. Please call." Then a masterpiece, "Do you want chicken salad tomorrow or something else?" Because who among us is not an optimist with condiments? Janelle replied, "I'm fine. Going to a studio after party. We'll talk tomorrow." Tomorrow came with the speed of a calendar that owed me money. She returned at noon, wearing a sweatshirt that looked like it had opinions about fame. "It was business," she said. "Do not be dramatic." Business continued. Dinners became, "I am at a tasting." Nights became quick drinks. Weekend became photo shoot last minute. I tried to be a husband who trusted what he loved. But trust is not supposed to work overtime. Then came the tabloids. Janelle in a small photo, backlit by someone else's spotlight, laughing by a pool I did not recognize. The caption, Khalil's new mystery friend keeps him smiling. I swallowed that sentence like a pill with side effects. Janelle said the internet is always wrong, which is sometimes true, but the photo did not look imaginative. Friends asked how the condo plans were going. I showed them our color palette and avoided mentioning that the shade of our evenings had become uncertain gray. I suggested counseling. Janelle said she hated therapists with succulents. They stare and sip from mugs that say feelings. I pleaded for a weekend away, Milwaukee, a cheese pilgrimage. She agreed in principle and canceled in practice. One Tuesday, she texted, staying with Viv tonight, late work. I decided bring her dinner, like a romantic courier. I arrived at Viv's building with stir-fry and optimism. Viv opened the door in pajamas. Janelle is not here, she said, blinking slow. She said she was, I replied, doing the math and failing arithmetic. Viv hesitated, then looked at me the way people look at whether they cannot control. Marcus, she murmured. I think she is with him. Him had a name. My shoulders slumped like they were tired of being shoulders. I walked to the lakefront and watched two joggers share earbuds, one each, like a truce. I promised myself I would not escalate. I would ask, I would listen. I would be the man who snapshots the truth without filters. When Janelle came home, I tried tenderness like a key. Please, I said, tell me what is happening between you and Khalil. She said, nothing is happening. It is a spark that looks like a flame under cameras. I asked if I could see her messages. She laughed softly, a sound that used to mean delight. Marcus, you are spiraling, she said, and spiraling is worse than suspicious because it suggests choreography. That Friday, we ran into the entourage at a lounge. I approached, palms up, ready to be reasonable in public. That was my mistake. Who are you? The handler asked, tilting his head, all politeness weaponized. I'm her husband, I answered. He glanced at Janelle, whose face rearranged itself into a mask I did not recognize. I do not know this man, she said. At first, I thought she was joking. A prank, a social experiment. Then a security guard, name tag reading poetry, stepped in. Sir, you're causing discomfort. The room spun the way a compass spins when lost. Janelle, I whispered, please. She looked through me, past me, around me, as if my name were a misplaced coat check. Poetry escorted me outside gently, which almost made it worse. On the sidewalk, the cold air slapped me with clarity. I tried calling, then texting. You did not know me? No answer. I stood beneath a billboard where Khalil's face soul fragrance described as midnight citrus. The irony attempted murder. A rideshare arrived. The driver asked if I liked the song on the radio. It was, of course, a Khalil song, and I said, I prefer silence with percussion. At home, I packed a small bag, toothbrush, 2 shirts, dignity folded carefully until it wrinkled anyway. I stayed at my brother Desmond's place. Desmond is a therapist who drinks from a mug that says feelings. So fate enjoys stand-up comedy. He did not say, I told you so. He said, you are not broken. You are bruised. We walked the lake trail, counted dogs, and I cried on a bench thoughtfully placed near water for melodramatic purposes. Janelle texted, we need space. I am sorting things out. Space expanded into weeks. Photos surfaced like uninvited fish. Janelle on a yacht, Janelle at a party, Janelle backstage. Always laughing. Sometimes holding the same glass forever. I made a spreadsheet of my new routine because structure seemed like armor. Mornings, run and forgive myself for running slowly. Afternoons, work on the condo loan paperwork we had paused. Evenings, learn to cook something that does not require boiling water. I signed up for salsa lessons because tragedy should still have rhythm. My instructor, Rosa, was merciless and kind. She said, lead with intention. And though she met my feet, I applied it to my heart. I stopped refreshing social media. Mostly. Okay, sometimes. Fine, often. Healing is not a straight line. It is a scribble. Then, as quickly as a key changes a lock, The headlines turned. Khalil Stone spotted with 3 new models in Miami. Mystery friend no longer seen. Backstage rotation? The internet is a circus with a library card, but even circuses have patterns. Janelle's cameos ended. Calls she used to ignore became calls she made. She texted me a single sentence that felt like it skidded on ice. "Can we talk?" I told her to pick the coffee shop with the stiffest chairs because I needed support. She chose a quiet spot where pastries looked both innocent and guilty. Janelle arrived early, the surest sign of repentance. She wore no makeup and all remorse. She reached for my hand and stopped as if the reaching needed consent. "I am sorry," she began, a phrase that sounded like somebody drilling through winter. He made me feel visible on a stage I did not know I wanted. It was intoxication, without the hangover warning label. "I denied you because truth would have broken the spell." I asked if there had been more than photos and parties. She said very softly, "Yes." The word pressed the world's heaviest button. "He stopped calling," she continued. "One day, his driver just did not come." The group chat turned into a bulletin board I could read, but not post on. He released a single titled "No Attachments," and I felt like a line item. I wanted to ask 1,000 questions, each one less kind than the last. Instead, I asked one, "Why did you choose him over us?" Janelle stared at her tea like it contained answers. "Because I confuse spotlight for love," she said. "And I confuse your boring goodness for boredom." I laughed without humor. I am very boring. The coffee shop hummed. Someone practiced a speech in the corner about marketing metrics. They had charts of circles doing circle things. Janelle kept talking. I forgot our promise to choose each other's ordinary every day. I did it in front of people with excellent cameras. I asked what she wanted now. She said, "Amends, a chance to earn us back." The obvious response rearranged my tongue. Beneath the table, my foot tapped salsa steps counting 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. The numbers of trying again. I said, "I will not be your consolation prize, but I will be your truth." We agreed on conditions. Counseling, honesty without theatrics, a 6-month trial of choosing. She moved into an Airbnb 3 blocks from Desmond's office. Humor written by the universe. We returned the condo keys unclaimed. Hardwood floors can wait until foundations relearn trust. We scheduled therapy with Dr. Sue, whose succulent judged no one. Janelle deleted every number associated with the entourage, then let me hold her phone while she did. It felt symbolic and also oddly clerical. I told her I needed time. She said she would make time visible. We left the coffee shop without touching. Forgiveness became our shared part-time job. Some days we performed it with grace. Other days we stared at the employee handbook. Janelle cried in unglamorous ways and showed me screenshots I never asked to see. I forgave in unglamorous ways and asked for details I did not enjoy receiving. We cooked new recipes that burned a little but gave us stories. On Fridays, we went on date nights that involved bowling, because bowling is a sport of earnest people who keep trying. We'd dance again sometimes, me counting, her laughing, both of us counting anyway. Months later, a radio host announced Khalil's new album while we drove to therapy. Janelle turned the volume down, then off, then laughed at herself for considering throwing the car out the window. I reached for her hand and found its surface warm, uncertain, soft, human again. Our life is not a movie, but that day, the lighting was kind. We no longer keep the promise of perfect. We keep the promise of trying, of apologizing, of choosing the quieter stage. Sometimes love is fireworks. Sometimes there's a porch light that stays on. We followed the porch light home. If you enjoyed this story, please comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.